Hi again, and this is ONNtv's Top Story. In the news, of course, pretty much every day are some kind of financial stories with regards to, how the economy is doing here in Canada, with regards to the most recent municipal election and taxes and that sort of thing. Also with regards to the revised, if we can call it that, NAFTA agreement, and how it has affected or can potentially affect farmers here in Ontario. David Thompson's in our studio this morning to talk to us a little bit about the Fair Finance Fund. David, good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you too. I'm good.
Good. Now tell us first what the Fair Finance Fund is.
So the Fair Finance Fund is an initiative of ours at RAIN, Rural Agriculture Innovation Network. We're a division of the Sault Ste. Marie Innovation Center. And we have been working to set up this fund with another partner of ours, the local food and farm co-ops. And what the fund is a social finance investment fund to invest into local food and farm businesses that have a specific mandate for social and environmental goals. And we call them social enterprises, but there's a number of farms and food businesses that can range from retail to processing to even restaurants that have a social or environmental mission.
Now, is this, I would think, Sault Ste. Marie in the Algoma area?
No, this fund is Ontario-wide. We've been working with our partners across the province to put this into place. We got some inspiration from Nova Scotia, who did this type of fund with a fund called FarmWorks, and we're bringing that model to Ontario. So it's pretty exciting.
It sounds like such an innovative idea. It sounds so much like an acknowledgement of how difficult it is to farm in 2018.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said in your introduction, there's certainly a lot of pressures, whether it's market forces, trade, the weather. This year we had really good weather up here in Algoma, but there were parts of Ontario with significant drought. And it's the reality of farming in our world today.
Do you think that people are aware? I'm thinking of, just an average person. Do you think they're aware of what the challenges are for a farmer in 2018?
I don't think so.
I mean, we all know the weather, right?
We know the weather.
Sort of dictates everything. But aside from that, what does a farmer face?
Yeah, well, a farmer, aside from like the day-to-day challenges, with what sector they're in, we can take dairy, for example. Dairy farmers right now, have been hit by a new negotiated trade agreement. But then, they also, in our area, struggle with things like logistics, trying to get feed on a timely basis for their herds. They, struggle with labor, getting good qualified people to work on farms. So there's a lot of diverse challenges that your average consumer is not really aware of, and I think there's a growing interest to learn more. And I think through this type of fund, we're able to get those stories back to people who who believe that their money should spur local opportunities.
Now, from your perspective, who do you approach for funding, or is that something that you do? Do you knock on somebody's door and say, the farmers need some money?
Well, with this fund, we're taking an approach where we have two different investment categories. We're asking investors to invest in community bonds. So an investor can invest in a $5,000 community bond to invest, and that would be for your average investor, for everyday
so someone
people.
like myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The other tier is a bit higher. It's at $50,000 of a community bond, and this is targeted to accredited investors, retail investors, conventional investors, corporations, cooperatives. And for both of these bonds, the interest we're looking at is between 2 to 3%. And certainly I think the investors understand that it's a lower rate of return, but there's other benefits that they're investing in, which is that social and environmental
and
impact.
their community,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the long-standing
Yeah.
necessity of farming.
Yeah, and necessity of farming in Ontario communities.
Yeah, and we were talking a second ago about education, and you mentioned that people are sort of coming back around to trying to understand what farming is all about, and that has so much to do, I think, with the new era farmer using all kinds of different technologies and different strategies.
Yep.
And that education is important and has to be sustained.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot more farmers on social media.
Yes.
On Twitter. The Fresh Air Farmer is one from Southern Ontario, dairy farmer, who's getting the word out through those means, and it's a great tool for engaging a younger generation and all sorts of people.
You know, it surprises me to hear, in a way, but not 100%, that one of the challenges that farmers in 2018 face is, employees.
Yeah, and we certainly see that in the district. Succession planning is an issue in the farm, and if that farmer does not have a successor, then the choice is to sell, or possibly to look at another person who could come in. But you're right. The human resources challenge is challenging, and not only for farmers but also for like processors, abattoirs in small communities.
How old's the fund? How long have you been doing this?
Well, we just actually launched our pilot fund. So the deadline for the pilot is actually today.
Awesome. So we're going to help you.
Yeah.
Just nail down the deal.
Yeah. So for the pilot loans, it's only going to be a few, but next year in subsequent years, we're looking at doing about 17 loans annually, and those loans range between $10,000 to $100,000.
So do you think that you would classify yourself as a mediator between the investor and the farmer, and then do you stay in the deal afterwards, or do you sort of match them up and back away?
No, we are. We do play that mediating role. We also are looking for mentors for farms as well through this process. And so we had about 4 community forums across the province, and we had a lot of people interested in just being that type of mentor to help people move along. But no, we're going to be in this process to get out the funds, and also to bring in the interest for the investors. So yeah.
How do you feel about the future of farms in Ontario at this point?
I feel very optimistic.
Oh, good, good.
There is so much that's happening under the radar that doesn't get appreciated in terms of what farmers are doing on farm. And there's a lot of exciting markets for farmers, whether it's a local regional market or whether it's an international market. There's significant opportunities because everybody eats, and will keep eating because the world's population is just growing. So,
and just regionally speaking, because they're the only farmers that I know, a lot of farmers have adjusted to what works in our climate.
Yeah, and certainly within our area, it had a lot of dairy farms over the past, and has significantly held a number of beef farmers. Our farms grow very good forage crops to feed their animals, and the farmers are also getting into new diverse crops like canola and soybeans. So yeah, they're definitely aware of what works, and we exist to share those good results and those good stories. So.
Now tell us, with regards to the farmer and the potential investor, somebody watching this morning, for instance, wants to become involved on either side. Do they just approach you? How does that work?
Yeah, so we launched our website, fairfinancefund.org, just earlier this month. We're getting the word out through social media, through our networks, and through the forums that we were doing. We said to any business, download the pre-application. It's just an initial screening document, just so we can assess that you're, have a social and environmental mandate and you fit within the criteria of the fund. And then we would enter into getting a loan application going, but we would really want to see a business plan for the farm, as well as we'd be doing character checks, credit checks, and all the standard things that we could see for any potential loan applicant.
Well, you know what, that's a really good point to make, because I think, you need to see the business plan and understand that the farmer is on the right path.
Yeah.
If that's not the case and they approach you, are you in a position to indicate to them, maybe if you do this, or do you send them to someone else to have that opinion?
Throughout the process of doing this, we've been able to connect with community futures development corporations, small business enterprise centers in all Ontario communities, whose mandate is to help small business with advising and business plan development. So certainly, while we can't spend a lot of time, we do have good partners that are able to provide that support.
It must be an amazing job for you, because it makes the province so much smaller, because you're in touch with everyone.
Yeah, and we do our meetings over Skype every week throughout this process, and it's been exciting.
That's terrific. Yeah. Any questions? What's your website again?
www.fairfinancefund.org.
And this has been David Thompson. David, so good to be able to stop in. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
We'll be back with more Top Story right after this. That was awesome.